It's showing we still got levels, so we should be good on the online.
We've got the levels.
Got the levels.
I've got a lack of hair.
But you're a bronze god.
Yeah, I got the bronze god working.
But you got the bronze god working for you. See, we've actually got the lighting right. I think because even Janice says she's like, you guys look a lot better.
I no longer look like a white.
Well, you were angelic. Angelic is what I would call it. So for this is one of those YouTube only like beginning of the stream parts here where before we get into the NFL draft.
This isn't for the podcast. It's just for the YouTubers that join us.
Little draft action.
Oh, you already got that loaded up too? All right.
Yeah, you got to have the draft action. Anyway, let's kick the show off. Let's get going.
Let's do what we do.
Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
It's good to be back, yeah. Draft. Coming our way. Boom.
So good to be back. And thankfully not in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where they are doing the draft.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be anywhere near Green Bay. Although, listen, it's one of those rare towns in America that, like, they're built around that football team. Like, like, everybody there, it's ingrained in you. It's a part of your year. Like, there's a lot of businesses that probably only make money certain times of year, like people down the shore, like here in Jersey. It's seasonal. They make their money. Those boardwalk people, they make their money in a certain time of year.
That Memorial Day to Labor Day stretch.
And that's it. So I'm sure it's like that in Green Bay, where from like probably August when they start, training camp, or maybe even July when they start training camp, because I think they train up there too, to the end of whether it's playoffs, usually playoffs for them. It's
early January. I mean, it's been a long time since their season ended in February, but not as long as my Cowboys, but it's still been a while.
But also joined in somebody who's been waiting a while to win, because I don't think when was the last time your team won, Mike? Was that I think there's a guy Joe Namath maybe playing.
Yeah, no. The TV was in black and white. Air condition wasn't a thing yet in the United States. It's been that long.
It has been that long. And glad to be joined by you tonight, Mike. I'm sure you're going to give us awesome perspective here, especially on the Jets, but in the NFL overall, as I know you know your football. So let's dive into this, because I think there's one thing we're going to get off the board right away. And we're all going to agree on this, that Cam Ward's going number one, right? I think we can all just sit here and just say, we don't have to talk too much about what Tennessee's going to do, because pretty much Tennessee is, they're taking Cam Ward. Everything out of Cam Ward's mouth is about how great they are and receivers and all the news coming out. It's Cam Ward number one overall, right? And I'm going to pitch to you first, Mike. Do you agree with that? Cam Ward number one overall? No real discussion there?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that earlier today, the Titans came out and said that they're sticking at number one, so they're not listening to any offers. And first and foremost, before this team needs anything else, they got to get a quarterback. So Cam Ward, undoubted number one overall pick to the Titans. I think it makes the most sense.
What about you, Dave?
I mean, look, he definitely leapfrog shooter. I'd say maybe like 2 months ago, I think the conversations kind of stopped who was the number one quarterback between the two of them. I do think that there is the small chance that if they don't trade back, they go after, say, like Abdul Carter, because I think everybody has him as the number one player in the draft. I mean, maybe 1A, 1B between him and Travis Hunter, but I think a pass rusher has more impact than a corner or wide receiver, wherever you would want to play Hunter. So I think the only didn't see that coming, but could see it coming would be Carter going to Tennessee. But it all starts with the quarterback. And if they believe Cam Ward's the guy, then yeah, there's no question he's going to go number one. But we've seen crazier things happen in the draft. I mean, you go back all those years and everybody thought the Texans were going to take, I can't remember the quarterback. When they took Mario Williams, the defensive end. They took him number one, and everybody had them taking a quarterback. So you never know. Pass rushers are the premium. But
quarterbacks are the premium. That's the number one position. If you think he's the guy, then you're taking him.
that's what it boils down to.
And they don't have their guy right now.
No, they definitely do not have.
Yeah,
their
listen,
guy.
he stands at 6'2", 225. He's only 23 years old, so you got him when he's young. You can get him for 2 full contracts. I think it's the smart idea for Tennessee.
Yeah, to me, it's the only move for Tennessee. I think what Cleveland does next is more interesting because they still got Deshaun Watson under contract, and so I don't really see them drafting. What was talked about for a long time in Sanders doesn't seem to be that way. I bet you that the way I'm looking at this, I think they're the ones that take it. Travis Hunter. I think they're the ones that try to pair up. They try to get more because now they have Judy. They would pair him with Judy, like try to get more weapons on the outside for Deshaun. I honestly think that's where he could end up, or Abdul Carter. One of those two.
And
I think
you're
going
going
to
with Myles Garrett. I mean, that's
I think
a
either
serious pass rush.
and I think whoever falls to the Giants, whether it be Carter or Hunter, I think if they get their chance at either, I think they go Carter. But really, I think that Cleveland. I think they're going to take Travis Hunter, and I think they're going to take him because of the two-way ability, and they're going to try to play that up. That's just my thoughts. Dave, what do you think?
So what I think is interesting, though, is that it came out today that apparently, and you could see it up on the computer screen, apparently the Browns and Giants are both fielding calls for teams that want to trade up. So I don't know.
I think that's all smoke and mirrors.
I mean, it definitely could be, right? There's no question about it. But
because you're trying to force some other team's hand. To me, it's all posturing. It's all nonsense right now.
Well,
I don't believe any
draft.
reports.
The draft is that chess match, right? You're trying to do your smoke and mirrors, get people to maybe do something that you.
Who would trade up? That's what I would ask: is who would trade up to get either Carter, Hunter, Sanders, Dart, whoever it is.
I mean,
who do you think? Because
the name I keep hearing is the Saints at 9. They need a quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't think if you're the Saints, you need to trade up to the 2 spot though, and give up all that capital to take a quarterback. Because if the Browns don't take a quarterback at 2, the rest of the team's going down until the Saints really don't need to take a quarterback either. So all you would be doing is just jumping up to assure that no one jumps ahead of you. And to jump up, again, to take like a Jackson Dart or a Shedeur Sanders, that's a lot of capital for a quarterback who, in a quarterback class like it is right now, isn't as strong as we've seen in the past. You know, you have to be full 100% in on a guy like Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders. I just don't think it's worth all that capital to move up.
No, and to be honest, I think one of those guys will be there at 9. So why even jump up? Because if you look at it, like we just talked about, don't think Cleveland's going QB. I don't think the Giants are going QB. Patriots just went QB. Trevor Lawrence is in Jacksonville. You might have the Raiders at 6, but if they take Sanders and you take Dart at 9, like I'm kind of sitting here thinking that no matter what happens, at 9 they're going to get their shot at either Sanders or Dart. So why spend the draft capital to move up? Like if I'm the Saints, I'm staying where I'm at because I'm going to land one of the two. So to me, the move up doesn't make sense because you're going to have to leverage picks this year. So you're going to have to give up your 1 this year. You're going to have to give up probably a 3rd or a 4th, if not a 2nd. And then you're probably going to have to give up something next year too. Is all that capital, is 3 guys worth moving up to get a guy that you could already get at 9? Like, it's a waste. To
Exactly.
me, it was it's a waste.
It's all a matter of what you think they're going to do. If you think Cleveland or the Giants are willing to take the quarterback, then you make the move if you want the quarterback. Again, it's one of those things, just like we were talking about with Tennessee with the 1, right? It all boils down to, do you believe your guy, when it comes down to the quarterback position, is in this draft? If you do, you're going to sacrifice this year's draft capital and next year's draft capital to get the guy. I don't think Sanders is the guy going into next year.
He's slipping. Everything I'm hearing, he may fall out of round 1.
I've
heard a lot of people talking about Sanders falling hard on boards right now.
Yeah, I have actually heard the same thing, and I think when you look at it, his body of work is not so impressive that you're like, nah, I would give up the farm for that guy.
It was apparently impressive enough to retire his number, though. And Mike, I got to get your opinion on that. Sanders getting his number retired. Now you can almost see for Hunter, 2-way player, won the Heisman, whatever. But
sure.
But Yeah, I don't know. And isn't it a little quick? They haven't even signed an NFL contract yet. They haven't even been drafted, and their numbers are already retired. Do you think that's a bit ridiculous, or are you on board with them getting their numbers retired?
No, this sounds a little bit more like it definitely wasn't Shador Sanders who was the one who made the call to get the number retired. It sounded like it was prime time looking to make a lasting name, in Colorado to retire a number, which honestly, I mean, if you really look at his production in college, certainly isn't worth retiring his number. I mean, his record, at Colorado was okay,
Barely
right? Like
500, I think.
yeah, it was okay, barely 500. What are we retiring his number for? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. So glad we're all on the same page there. We talked about that last week, but just wanted to get your quick opinion on it. So yeah, I think we can.
Before we move on, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Browns do if they take Travis Hunter. Because listen, I hear him. I hear what he's saying. He's a two-way player, and he can go out and he could play 120 plays, and that could work at Colorado against UCF. But I don't think that's going to work against the Ravens twice a year. So where is he predominantly going to play? In my opinion, I think it makes more sense for him to play corner, with the understanding of, all right, if we're down a receiver, we can have you just run a fade. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, to take a corner and tell him to run a slant or run an out, as opposed to tell a wide receiver to play press man with no safety help over top.
I agree with you. I think that's a great way of looking at it too, because I was debating that because I just, even if he's a two-way player for a couple of years, he's not going to be a two-way player for 15 years. He's going to be a two-way player for maybe his rookie deal. But after that, I mean, by the time this kid hits close to 30, he's not playing both ways in 120 plays anymore. I don't care who he is. Not happening.
Yeah, once you give him the big guaranteed dollars, you're like, we need you on the field.
But I love what you said there, because it makes a lot of sense that if you could use him, and it makes sense, put him at the kind of harder position, especially to learn first. And then if you need him to step in at wide receiver and you need him to be a guy, you could do that. And yeah, I really like that idea. And I actually think that's where the Browns are going. I think if I'm locking it in right now, I'm saying Cam Ward 2, Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2 to the Browns. And I think that falls right in the lap for the Giants at number 3. Drafting Abdul Carter.
They get the number 11 from Penn State. They missed out on a couple.
I think so. I think this is the time that they get that, and you pair him. I don't like the talks I've heard of them possibly trading Thibodeau or whatever. No, keep you're getting him to add to it, not to replace something or to do something different. You're getting to him to add to it, to add fuel, to make that the best part of your team. You're going to have one of the best defensive lines in all of football. And that, you pair him with Sexy Dexy and like all these guys, they're a dangerous front. And that, we all know where you win football games is in the trenches. Like, you win them there. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, quarterbacks, receivers, they get paid the most. But you win games in the trenches. And if you can win the defensive side of the ball, it helps the offensive side of the ball. And I like the move because I don't want to keep just throwing weapons at quarterbacks who are one and dones pretty much, because that's all Russ is. He's a one and done. I don't like, I mean, if they wanted to build offensive line, I know maybe they could do that, but I really think the move is Carter. I'm going Carter, and shout out to Fife, because Fife's been talking for months. When I was first talking about getting Hunter, Fife was talking about getting Carter. So shout out to Eric and him. But where do you see, Mike? I'm going to throw it to you. Where do you see the Giants going? You think Carter at 3 is a lock if he's there, or do you think that they'd be better off going a different direction?
No, I think Abdul Carter would be the smart pick. I would disagree with you and say, though, that if they pick up Abdul Carter, I think they're going to shop Kayvon Thibodeau. He's coming up on a contract this year, and you've already got big money in Brian Burns right now. So if you can trade that asset of Kayvon Thibodeau. Well, listen, he's playing great.
Yeah.
But if you can trade Kayvon to pick up some picks this year and next year, maybe, I don't know what his trade value would be, but then restart that clock for new, fresh, young edge rusher who's a missile coming off of the end. I think that would be the smarter move for the Giants because there's a lot of holes that they need to fill, and if they could get a couple picks for Kayvon, I think it would be the smart thing for them to do.
I gotta say, I'm kind of laughing here. I'm looking. We have Yahoo Sports, ESPN, and CBS Sports, and CBS Sports has literally flipped our entire draft so far. So like the way it's timing of the video that's on our screen right now, they had Hunter go 1 to Tennessee, Carter go 2 to Cleveland.
No, that's just their overall ranking. No, that was just their.
Yeah, look at the video. Number 3, Cam Ward, 2 Giants.
Yeah, no, that's stupid.
They're going the complete opposite way of everything we're doing.
Yeah, they're wrong. They're wrong. They're 100%.
But I do got to shout out. We got Marissa in the chat, Timmy in the chat. Marissa wants to see Philly do something big after losing Sweat and Graham. Wanting something big, preferably on the defensive line, maybe D tackle. And then Timmy talking
their
about
problem though is they drafted 32. Like they're gonna get best available there, and that's where they're gonna get somebody good, but they'd have to trade up to really make a move.
I think that like looking at Philly though, like there'd be nothing that would shock me if Howie traded into the top 10 if there was a guy he wanted.
Oh yeah,
like Howie Roseman has perfected being a GM in the NFL.
It pains me to say that.
It's heartbreaking.
It is because what he's been able to do with the salary cap too. You hear about it the Giants couldn't sign Saquon because they were going to sign Daniel Jones, and you can't sign people for that. They have so many guys signed to big contracts, but it's the way they are able to manipulate it through, whatever it is, bonuses and this year and that. Yeah,
contracts. They do a whole bunch.
However,
of stuff,
they manipulate it, it works amazing, and it won them a championship. So you got to kind of almost you got to do a little R&D. You got to do a little, rip off. And,
I gotta say, one thing that Marissa just mentioned that is interesting in talking about the Eagles potentially trading, right? Is there's been rumors of Dallas Goedert potentially being on the trade block. So do they?
He's getting older though, isn't he? Isn't he in his 30s now?
No, he's late 20s. I mean, he's close, but he's been having injury issues, right? So can you pair up your 32nd pick with Goddard and get high enough to take one of the 2 top tight ends coming out that people really love? So I think that's an interesting thing to throw in there that I didn't think about. So shout out to Marissa for that. And then Timmy talking about why not trade Burns instead of Thibodeau?
Because they just traded for Burns, and they're never going to get that value back. I think they traded, a second-round pick or a third-round pick for Burns?
Second and a fourth.
Something stupid like that, but they're never going to get that value back. Yeah. So you're going to trade him and get less value back.
And they gave him a new contract after the
technically,
trade.
You're probably going to get more value for Thibodeau because Thibodeau is going to be signing his first big deal after his rookie deal. So I think you can get more value out of him because he's on the younger side than Burns is. Burns, I think, turning 30 this year if he's not 30 already. So I think you're on the younger side with Thibodeau. So I think he's the more tradable piece if you're going to. But I think if you draft Abdul Carter, you're drafting him to strengthen your line, not replace somebody on it. So to me, I think that move is there, and you keep Thibodeau. I don't think you move him. If that means you risk possibly, trade him towards the trade deadline if you need to. Do something like that, but there's no need to trade him right now. If you're really not going to sign him, you decide halfway through the year, we're really not going to sign you. They try to work out a deal. It's not going to work. Get rid of him at the deadline. That's what I think. But the
Giants are in a position of stacking assets. That's what the Giants need to be doing. They do not have even if they knock this draft out of the park, it's hard to see them as even a playoff team.
Yeah.
So stack the assets, continue to build your young players. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think the top 3 players, I think, are pretty much set. The order they go in, I think, is your real question mark. Again, I do agree, right? Like when you're looking at the quarterback, the pass rusher, and the defensive back / wide receiver, if you believe the quarterback's your guy, then you're taking him. You're going to take him. So,
right.
And that's what it boils down to, right? And like I said, right, like with the Saints, if they believe Sanders is their guy, they will give up capital to get their guy and not hope he falls to them. But I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it for months that nobody here is sitting here and looking at this quarterback draft class like, hey, there are some future Hall of Fame guys in this class. And, GMs and talent evaluators might feel differently, but none of us are really seeing it. And that's what I'm going off of, what I see. And I think Cam Ward shows some capabilities, but do I think Cam Ward is, a future Hall of Famer, future Pro Bowler, future All-Pro? I don't think I can go that far with the guy from what I've seen so far. But let's jump around a little bit here, right? Like, we're talking about looking at other teams, right? So the Giants, right? I know
we're done. Yeah,
and
we're done.
Fife,
We're
right?
good. We're
the
good.
dream scenario is getting Abdul Carter and then being able to draft Jalen Moreau, your second round pick, and why not? Let's see what the hell happens. So, Mike, as a Jets fan, with your team technically being next on the clock out of the people that are sitting here, and those that are in our chat right now, where do you want to see your Jets go? Because you really don't have a quarterback. They picked up the 5th-year options on basically all of their good young players that they nailed in that draft. You're looking at an extension coming at some point for Sauce Gardner. Like, they have some pieces, right? The Jets are not a team that is just devoid of talent, but where do you want to see them go? I get the feeling you don't want them grabbing Sanders from this talk so far. So where do you want to see the Jets go in your dream scenario?
So the Jets are not devoid of talent. You're definitely right there. However, they're definitely not a piece away. And based off of what we saw last year, as the year unfolded, there were a lot of gaping holes towards the end of the year that they certainly need to address, definitely in round one. And I feel like with where we have the draft right now, Cam Ward number 1, Travis Hunter number 2, Abdul Carter number 3, the draft really starts with the Patriots. And what they decide to do is really how the rest of the draft is going to play out, because it would be advantageous for the Patriots to take the best offensive lineman in the draft and take Will Campbell. Mike Vrabel's a big guy, right? He wants to get down and dirty in the trenches. Would it be surprising to you for them to say, hey, we're going to take a weapon and we're going to pair Ashton Jeanty on the Patriots, right? And all of those things kind of dictate what the Jets are going to do at 7. In my ideal scenario, the Jets do not draft anybody on defense. If Mason Graham from Michigan is there at 7, you got to bite your tongue and you can't take him. And I wouldn't take Mason Graham at number 7 because Mason Graham's a 3-tech. The Jets already have a 3-tech, Quinnen Williams. Even though he's one of the best defensive linemen in the draft, he doesn't fill the hole that the Jets have on their defensive line. We need a big ugly. We need a nose tackle. We need somebody taking double teams, and that's just not what Mason Graham does. He's better as a 3-tech. So at the 7 spot, I'm going offense. I'm looking nowhere else but offense. And there's really 2 positions that everybody's been talking about for the Jets to pick up, and that's either the right tackle position or the tight end position. Both scenarios make sense for what the Jets should do. And I'm going to give you both scenarios. If you take a right tackle, my preference would be number 1, Armand Membo out of Mizzou. That guy tested great at the combine, and he had a great year, but he kind of flew under the radar because going into the year, a lot of people were talking about Will Campbell. A lot of people were talking about Kelvin Banks. Armand Membo really wasn't getting a lot of love, but he played fantastic football for Mizzou this year, and he tested off the charts. If you can find a solid right tackle for the Jets offensive line, I'm going to walk you through it. You have Olu Fashanu on the left side, who the Jets picked up with their first pick last year. Next to him at left guard, you've got Elijah Vera-Tucker, who has been dealing with some injuries, but when he's on the field, he's consistent and he's consistently good. At center, you've got Joe Tippmann. Last year was his 2nd year, and he had a really good year that completely flew under the radar. Then you have your right tackle, Josh Simpson, who is a hard-nosed, downhill, in-your-face guard that the Jets haven't had in a long time. If you can round that out with a 6'5", 330 plug-and-play right tackle, you had your offensive line set for at least 3 years. Once contracts start coming up, then you can figure out what you need to do. But if you've got your offensive line, if you've got two bookend tackles that can play together for 4 years, everybody talks about assuring the offensive line. If you can have 2 first-round picks as your tackles, you are already a better football team.
Yeah, I'm just going to caution you, though, because, looking at the stats alone, I know you're saying how well Membo, tested off the charts, but Will Campbell's got him beat in every physical aspect. 6'6" compared to 6'3", 320 compared to 314, both the same age. The only reason I lean Will Campbell, if I was going to go offensive tackle, is because he's played better competition. Now, Mizzou plays a lot of the same competition in the SEC, but Will Campbell has played in bigger games, played in higher stakes, been a part of a little bit more winning. I feel like a winning culture. So, like, to me, I think some of those intangibles you can't teach. Like, you can't, so to me, I would lean Will Campbell, but that's just me.
I certainly agree with you. I'm just presuming that Will Campbell's not going to be on the board at 7. I think the Patriots are going to take him at the 4 spot. I'm anticipating that. And going into Thursday,
if that's the case, then I would say
shake out
Membo.
differently. Yeah. If things shake out differently, then take Will Campbell. He's the best offensive lineman in this draft. Now, that was my offensive line spiel of why they should take a right tackle at 7. Now let's shift over to the tight end spot.
That's what I thought you were going with. These 2 tight ends. The kid out of Penn State and the kid out of Michigan they're special.
Yeah, no, Tyler Warren, 6'6", 255, 260. That's a tight end that you want in the NFL, right? He's a strong pass blocker. He's a strong blocker. I'd like to see a little bit more out of him, but you can teach blocking techniques if you're that good and you get drafted 7 overall, right? Right now, if you look at the Jets' offensive line, they have the left tackle, left guard, center, right guard figured out. Right now, their right tackle. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'm going to say it wrong. He was on the Patriots last year for week 1. He played 12 snaps, took himself out of the game, and quit. And he didn't play a snap the rest of the year. And then the Jets were like, we saw what you did before you were with New England. You played in Pittsburgh. You played 60 consecutive games at right tackle. Maybe we could try to coach you up and teach you a little bit. If you could put Tyler Warren in a 3-point stance next to him, if he happens to be your right tackle, at least Tyler Warren can help a little bit with an inexperienced right tackle, as well as with the offense that the Jets are going to run. I don't think the Jets are running shotgun, air raid, throwing 9s down the field. We're going to be under center, right? There's going to be a lot of play action, and there's going to be a lot of chip and release. I want Tyler Warren to chip and release, and that's exactly what you're going to get out of him. The Jets haven't had a big body tight end go across the middle that's actually good since Dustin Keller. So if you can draft some, exactly. So if you can take Tyler Warren, you're addressing a position that the Jets have desperately been trying to figure out for so long and just haven't been able to. So either way, it makes sense on what they decide to do.
So, but I'm going to make you die on this hill. I want you to know which way are you going? Who are they landing? What hill are you dying on? Come on. The Jets are on the clock.
I am dying on the Armand Membo hill.
Okay.
Because I think you can get more out of Armand Membo and a second-round tight end as you would Tyler Warren and a second-round right tackle. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Listen, the Jets are.
I like
Jets,
it.
They're gonna be a run heavy team this year. I need the best big ugly that we could get at right tackle.
Oh, you want some of them
That's what
hog
I'm
mollies? I think you guys, Gettleman's out there somewhere if you want to talk to him about some hog mollies.
But those are my thoughts. What do
All
you
right.
guys think that the Jets should do?
I think you're spot on. I think they got to go offensive line. In my opinion, you got to start building that because if you're going to plan on getting a franchise quarterback in the future, you got to have a line in front of them. Otherwise, it's pointless to have. So I think you got to build there,
Certainly.
continue
And
to build there, and see what Fields can give you this year. I think Fields has more promise than some people give him. I just think he went to QB purgatory hell when he got drafted by the Bears, unfortunately, because the Bears, and I'm going to die on this hill, they don't develop quarterbacks well. It's like the Browns. It's like there's certain teams out there that do not develop quarterbacks, and I will flat out die on the hill that the Bears are one of them. So he had no shot when he got drafted there. You saw once he left there, he actually played well at the beginning of the season for Pittsburgh before Russ came back. So
I mean, he was 5-2. Like he was playing good.
Yeah, he was. And again,
well, that's what I was going to say. He went 5-2 with the Steelers, and then the Steelers pulled him for whatever reason.
Well, yeah. I didn't think that was the right move, but listen, it worked out for him. They ended up going to the playoffs and all with him. So,
yeah.
Russ worked out for him, but at the same time, I think maybe this move works out for the Jets. If this is a prove it year for Fields, have him come in and see what he can do, and you guys might be surprised if you can develop him. But again, I think the Jets are another one of those teams that unfortunately just have a terrible track record of developing quarterbacks. So I hope that's not the case. I hope that the Jets can get back on track this year. But it's. They should build on what Fields was able to do last year, hopefully.
Certainly. And again, you have Justin Fields. The contract you signed him to is a 2-year, $40 million deal, but you have an out after this year. So if he doesn't produce the way that we're expecting him to, you just release him. And if the Jets are that bad that you have to release Justin Fields, odds are you're picking pretty high in the draft next year. So then you can decide to restart that quarterback clock next year. But they're if they can really round out that offensive line for Justin Fields, I'd be really excited to see what he could do because the Steelers got a good offensive line and he played pretty good behind them. So it'd be exciting to see.
All right, not to move us off the Jets, but I want to go back one pick because I think it's interesting. What do you guys think the Raiders do? Because the Raiders are an interesting team. They went out, they trade for Geno, but is Geno really the long-term answer there? I know for a while they were looking at Sanders, but again, Sanders been falling on everybody's board. Did they maybe go offensive line and take Membo instead, and then leave the Jets with no option really other than one of those tight ends, and they can have their pick? But because they're not going tight end. They got the rookie of the year last year in Brock Bowers, so they're not going anywhere with him. And I think that I think the Jets could be looking at a scenario where maybe Membo and maybe Will Campbell are both gone by that point, if that's what the Raiders decide to do. So it's kind of a weird spot because the Raiders can go a lot of different ways. I mean, if for some reason Hunter falls, they could be a team that's in on Hunter. If Carter falls, they could be in on almost anybody. And that's the scary part. They could be on Genty because they had trouble in the running game last week.
And I think that's really the guy, right? 5 and 6. Those are the two teams that you hear the most about taking Genty. I've heard a few little rumors here and there about maybe the Patriots are being interested in him. But I think Genty's that next big name, right? We talked about Hunter and we talked about Carter. We talked about Ward.
I worry about him on the next level, though, and I've been saying this since he was in college. Boise State doesn't play a super high level of competition. I'm just going to state it. And when they played Penn State, he got shut down. When they played Penn State in the playoffs, they got shut down, and that worries me because that was his big test. If he was able to light up Penn State and able to light up that defense, I'd say, you know what, the kid could be something special. Instead, he kind of fell short, and that's where I looked at it and I said, ooh, is he going to do that on the next level? Kid's got a lot of talent, but at the same time, I don't know if he makes it on the next level.
My concern with Genty is the fact that he averaged over 300 touches over the last, 2 or 3, 3 seasons, right? So,
where's your body down?
Exactly. So, you're talking a guy that, all right, do I want to take a guy at number 6 that I know I'm going to get 4, maybe 5 good years out of, but there's just no way it'll make any sense to give him a second contract. No. If you're drafting a guy in the top, I'd say 15 picks, the expectation is that guy isn't just giving you his rookie deal. You're going to get one more contract out of him. Like that is the goal. Like if you are going to be that bad in the season that you're drafting outside of the teams that made the playoffs, you want guys that are going to give you the opportunity or have the opportunity to help your team for beyond a 4 or 5 year time period. So that would be my concern with Genty. But I think from everything we're seeing or hearing, right? Like I think it's 4 through 6 he's going to go. And then from there is where you're really going to just kind of wave your hands in the air and be like, I have no idea what the hell is coming next. All right. Like
let's also not forget that the starting quarterback right now for the Raiders is Geno Smith. He's 34 years old, right? I know Geno Smith is a mobile quarterback, but father time is ticking and it's kind of ticking past him. So you've got to protect him. So that's why Armand Membeau at 6 makes a lot of sense. You've got to protect this guy.
Yeah, and his biggest problem in Seattle's biggest problem last year was he was the fastest like he was facing pressure faster than any other quarterback in the league. When he had time, they were successful. That offense moved the ball when they had time. So, I mean, you're going to start seeing a rush, and it happens every year, right? The rush. First, it's usually the quarterbacks, and then it's a rush on offensive linemen. Guys want to make sure that they get the guy that they believe is their starter, right? That guy that they can put there for 10, 15 years at a position. So I think if the O-line start to go, I think you see your top 2 or 3 go before you probably get out of the top 10. I think Chicago's another team, right? You could see Chicago going for Genty to give him a starting running back. You can see him go offensive line and try and protect Caleb Williams. But they're going to continue to invest in that offense in Chicago. So which way are they going?
Yeah, I don't think that the Bears would go offensive line just because they made so many moves in the offseason towards that offensive line. And I'm never going to be the one to tell you to not take offensive linemen. My philosophy is in the first 3 rounds, you should always take an offensive lineman. You should always do it. But I think for the Bears, if miraculously Ashton Genty's there at 10, they're undoubtedly turning the card in and taking Ashton Genty.
Yeah, I don't see how you don't. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think he's just one of those guys that, again, it's going to only be for 4 or 5 years, but I think for those 4 or 5 years, he could be a guy that really can make a difference for teams. And it boils down to, is right. Like, I just don't like taking running backs in the top 10. I just don't. After what happened, after the Ezekiel Elliott experience in Dallas, that you had 3 great years for a heavy usage running back that was heavily used in college, and then they heavily used him in the NFL, and you saw it. It was a noticeable drop right after he got that new contract with Dallas, and it was one of the stupidest mistakes that they ever made. And it's one of those things to me that I still to this day don't understand why they caved. They had him by the cojones when it came down to the contract situation. Like, they owned him. He had 3 years under his belt. He still had 1 more year of his rookie deal. They still had the 5th year extension. They had 2 years worth of franchise tags. All of those things would have been cheaper than the contract that they gave him. But they did what they did because Jerry Jones thinks he's a good GM. But besides the point, I don't like taking running backs in the top 10. But if you're Chicago's probably the one team that'd be like, all right, you're right on that cusp, and you think you've got all your other pieces in place that you could be competitive in that division, then you go for it.
To be honest, they're just fooling themselves. They're still 3rd best at best in that division.
Oh, I mean, I would definitely take.
I'd take the Lions
Detroit
and
Green Bay over them, and even Minnesota. You don't know what JJ McCarthy's going to be.
No, but last year they were the surprise team of the year. What Sam Darnold was able to do, I mean, nobody saw that coming.
No.
Nobody saw
Honestly,
that
if you told me it was going to happen and we went back to start last year's season, I would tell you were lying. I'm like, there's no way Darnold puts up numbers like that. Like, I just wouldn't believe it. But Chicago to me is the first place where, from my perspective, Genty makes sense. And then I do want to just really quick touch on the Jets side of things. I think taking an offensive lineman for the Jets really fits the coaching mold that Aaron Glenn's trying to bring from Detroit. Win the offensive line, win the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I don't care who, and then we'll fill in talent players. We can find fast guys. We can find guys that can catch. We can find guys that can run. But finding guys that are going to win the line of scrimmage more times than they lose it, those are probably the hardest guys to find outside of a quarterback you can rely on. So I think the Jets go an offensive lineman. If one of those two guys we touched on are there, I think that would be a perfect sign for the mentality and attitude that Aaron Glenn was hired for, and the fact that they're willing to let him try and build this team how he believes they should be built. So,
by the way, I love the fact that he came in and it was like a 10-minute conversation with Rodgers of, all right, you're here, went and got the GM. All right, you still want to play? Yeah. All right, we're going a different direction. Like,
oh yeah,
conversation over.
Oh, yeah. Hearing the reports from Devontae Adams' interview, where he was like, I never thought anybody would be able to say something like that to Rodgers, and I couldn't believe how pissed Rodgers was. That made me laugh inside. It really did.
And to me,
I'm like, good. It's about time.
It's about
time.
Yeah,
that the Jets have someone that's got a set that'll talk to the quarterback as the head coach. Now, I want to put it to you this way: do you remember way back when Aaron Rodgers was in the cave? He was in the cave, and Green Bay was trying to reach out to him about what they were going to do, and there was no cell service. So he didn't pick up the phone, right? Yeah. If the Jets called Aaron Rodgers, first of all, he would have been like, oh, FaceTime me because I don't have cell service, right? But if they were to FaceTime him to say, hey, we're going in a different direction, he would have been like, wow, they don't have the guts to tell me, Aaron Rodgers, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, been in the league for 20 years to my face, that I'm not going to be the quarterback anymore. And then he went on the Pat McAfee show and he's crying a song of, oh, they made me fly out there on my dime.
Good.
Like, Eric, if I had to fly to California on my dime, yeah, that's a pain in the neck. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is worried about flying out on a dime. I think he's got it taken care of.
Hey, he's still got his house here too, so it's not like he doesn't have a place to stay.
Yeah, and it was a no BS type of thing. No, we didn't want to talk for 30 minutes. We didn't want to talk for an hour.
Yeah, I didn't want to hear what your plan was. I didn't give a shit. We don't give a shit what your plan is. Your plan is you're out of here.
Yeah, basically.
Go find a new plan.
Nobody likes you anymore.
Aaron Glenn is a Bill Parcells guy, and Bill Parcells always said when it comes to anybody who's thinking about retiring, they're done.
Yeah.
So it's good to get ahead of it. Do it early in the offseason, so now it's gone. It's out of the way. You don't got to worry about it. It's in the past.
Yep.
Yeah. And now you can put all your attention forward to this new Jets team. I thought it was the right thing to do at the time.
It was.
And even Aaron Rodgers coming out on the Pat McAfee show and explaining the story the way that he was, I don't know if he was thinking that other professional organizations were going to be like, wow, Aaron, that's a really heartfelt story. Do you want to come play quarterback for our team? Like, he just tanked his opportunity to play elsewhere.
He didn't have many places left to go anyway, so I anticipate him announcing his retirement sooner rather than later. There is one pick I wanted to bring up because we didn't bring it up yet, and I think it's because we all feel the same way. We don't really give a crap what this team does because whatever they do, it's probably going to be the wrong move anyway. But that's the Carolina Panthers. I got to be honest. Don't know who the hell they would pick and don't really care because whoever they pick probably isn't going to be somebody I wanted to pick anyway. So I'm okay with just not even going with talking about Carolina because I just don't think it doesn't matter what they do with their pick. They're not going to be very successful with it. So that's just how I feel right now until they write that ship there.
I do think I think they go wide receiver at tight end. I think they want to get some weapons for what's his name. I think that's the route they're going to go.
Yeah, and I know they traded up in the first round last year to take Xavier Legette, and he's good, but I don't think he's given you. He's not a first round wide receiver that they traded up for. So I think the 8th spot would be a good pick for the Arizona wide receiver T-Mac, Tedarrell McMillan. I think that would be a good spot.
Sounds like the perfect pick for them. That sounds like an absolutely perfect pick, picking a wide receiver out of the Pac-12 that never played any good competition and is going to end up, being exactly like they ended up with Xavier Leggett this year, not doing very much. So I think that's actually the perfect pick, Mike. And I think that's the one we're going to go with because that's the one that's really not going to matter when it comes down to it. I'm going to move us off of there. I want to get to another team because this team to me is interesting because I had them winning the NFC West last year. They didn't do it. I think they got talent there. Then they went and traded some of that away to Washington because they got to make room for Purdy's contract. So I'm really interested to see what San Fran could do here because being that they traded Debo, maybe they could be a guy that's in on a McMillan. They could be a guy. They could be a team that's in offensively if, say, a Genti falls or something else. Like I don't know because C-Mac's only getting older and more injured. So I don't know. San Fran's an interesting team to me because even though they're picking at 11, they had a down year this year. I don't expect them to be down for long. I don't know, Dave. How you feel?
I don't think they're going to take a running back. That's for sure. I mean, they basically pick guys up off the street and have show that they can make them run for 1,000 yards. So
yeah, but then they went out and trade for C-Mac.
Yeah, but it's just like the Eagles. Like the Eagles had a decent run game, but when you put a great player, it becomes a great running game. The Niners can run the ball no matter who's back there, but C-Mac is a special player. I honestly think the guy that sticks out to me the most for San Francisco, if they go offense, it's going to be one of the offensive line top tackles that are remaining because you got to get somebody that's going to be able to take over for Trent Williams. I mean, that team literally looks completely different when Trent Williams is not on the field. I don't care if they are healthy top to bottom on that roster, but Trent Williams is not playing, that team does not look the same.
You win in the trenches.
So
I see. I predict. I mean, in my opinion, I think this is where Kelvin Banks goes, and this is where Kelvin Banks goes. I think this is the perfect, passing of the baton from to Kelvin Banks. He's a plug and play tackle, which is what they need. And if you're going to bring Brock Purdy in and, sign him to a second contract, which you've got to pay out the wazoo for, rightfully so. I mean, the documentary, the 30 for 30 that's going to come out on him of being, Mr. Irrelevant to playing in the Super Bowl is going to be amazing. But the contract that he's going to get, you got to protect him. You got to keep him up. And when Trent Williams wasn't out there, like you said, they look like a completely different team. So I think Kelvin Banks is the pick here for the 49ers.
Yeah, the only other option I can think of is Jalen Walker. They have an eye for linebackers, and they're not getting younger at the linebacking position. So I could see, like, I think it's either offensive tackle or Walker being the most likely guys that they go after. I think they like their young wide receivers. I mean, they've shown, the guy that was drafted last year that got shot, and then they bring him. He finally comes back, and he plays pretty well for them. You got what's his name who stepped up consistently. He was like the waiver wire steal of fantasy football last year on San Francisco. Jennings.
Yeah, Jennings.
Right, like
I picked him up. He had 45 points for me.
Yeah, he just goes off, right? Like, so I think they like their young wide receivers. So I think they're gonna really look at that offensive line. The only other thing is like Kittle's due for another contract. Like, do they want to extend Kittle? Could the tight end be the sneaky move? I don't know.
What I've been seeing is that the 49ers and George Kittle aren't close as far as the contract goes. So, I mean, you were talking about before Dallas Goedert being a pawn in a trade. I don't know. I mean, if the 49ers can't figure out a contract for George Kittle, do you think they move him and, like you said, pick up one of those Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland types, get a pick for George Kittle and then restart that market as well because you got to pay Brock Purdy?
That's what I mean. They have that could be the team that Philly calls and says, "Hey, you've got a need, we've got a guy, we've got a pick, you've got a pick. We should have a conversation."
Yep. It makes sense.
I could see it. I could definitely see it. But either way, I hope they fail at whatever they pick because screw the 49ers. That's coming from a true Cowboys fan right there because I still remember all those 90s rivalry games. And, yeah.
I got to say, the middle of this draft, as I'm looking at it, it's just a whole bunch of who cares. Like, what are you going to do? Like, Are the Colts going to get exponentially better with any of these picks here? Like, I don't think so. Like, are the Colts even going to get it right? They don't even know if they got Andrew, like,
The Anthony Richardson pick
right
after all these years.
Atlanta doesn't know what the hell they're
Yeah.
doing. They're signing Cousins. They're drafting Penix. They're benching. They're another team that I think has promise. They got good young players like Drake London and Bijan Robinson and a lot of danger. But at the same time, the danger is themselves because they can't get out of their own way. They should be a better team than the team they were last year, and for some reason they can't get it figured out. So I don't think picking 15 is going to get them figured out either. So I'm like, maybe they add another offensive lineman, maybe they add something to the defense.
I think you look at the division. What do they got to take to compete with Houston? That's what you're looking at.
No, I said Atlanta. We were talking
Oh,
Atlanta.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I moved off of the Colts.
I stayed.
No, so I'm saying, so to compete with the Saints, who are going to have probably a rookie QB, you don't need much to compete there. The Panthers, they haven't shown you very much the last few years. I don't know how much you really need to compete there. And who's the other team in the South? Tampa. Tampa's about the only other team. They've got some things figured out. They've got their seasoned, QB in Mayfield. They've got their seasoned receiver. That's why I said maybe you want to go.
Godwin came re-signed.
So maybe you want to go defensive side of the ball to try to help your defense out when you got to play them. Maybe you go corner. Maybe. Hi, bud. I know you got an opinion too.
Louis like, I'm dying on this hill.
Yeah.
Pay attention to me.
So maybe the kid Mike Green out of Marshall makes sense there.
That's what I was thinking. Mike Green makes a lot of sense for Atlanta.
That's what I was thinking too. But that'd be about it. That's all I could see there. I know you got to run.
So,
but I
wanted to ask a question to you guys before I jump.
Go for it.
One pick that I am fired up to see, and we were talking about quarterbacks early on, is pick 21. Steelers are on the clock. What are they doing? Are they taking Shador if he falls? What's the game plan? Because they've been trying to bring in Aaron. Well, they tried, bringing in Justin Fields. He left. They tried keeping Justin Fields in the building. He left. They tried keeping Russell Wilson. He left. They tried bringing a bunch of people on board, having meetings with people, never went anywhere. And now we're in the Aaron Rodgers dialogue with the Steelers, and there's still nothing to be done with that yet. So what are they doing at quarterback? Do they address it in round one?
My honest thought is that they try to trade that pick to Atlanta for Cousins. That's my honest thought. I think they try to trade that pick for Cousins. And if they can't do that, then they pray Shador falls. Because I think if Shador falls out of the top 12, I think then they'll be willing to sacrifice enough to move up to get him. But I genuinely think that their first want with that pick is going to be trying to trade it for Kirk Cousins.
Wow. That's a bold take. That's a bold take. I didn't see that one coming, and I wasn't predicting that, but at the same time, I could see him fitting in pretty well with the Steelers there. They like to run the ball. They like to, I think he brings a good energy. They got, Pickens. They got,
they got Metcalf as well. I think the thing with Cousins is, look, we all know what Kirk Cousins is, right? He is a average quarterback with the potential to have some really great games. Just don't put him in prime time, and you got yourself a fighting chance. But he's been a constant professional his entire career, no matter what he's gone through. Fan base is coming after him, coaching changes, trade, whatever it is. He's always stayed a professional, and that goes a long way in the Pittsburgh community, right? Like that blue collar city. Like they're called the Steelers for a reason, right? It's a blue collar city. They like guys that are hardworking and keep their head down and do their thing. So I think that to me it would be a very interesting and probably one of the most valuable things that Pittsburgh could get at 21. Because like Fife mentioned in our chat, shout out to Fife, this draft is really filled with a whole lot of second and third day talent. That you never know what they'll turn into, but based off of what you've seen out of their college career so far, that's really what you see right now. So that's my thought.
I love the thought because it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for Pittsburgh. So I'm going to jump on board with you. I mean, if they could trade that pick and get Cousins back and be able to do something with that offense, I think it makes a hell of a lot more sense than bringing in a guy like Rodgers or even drafting a guy like Sanders. But I think Sanders will be there at 21. I do. I think that I think he's falling on boards right now. I think some people even have maybe Jackson Dart higher than him on their board. So I think there's a real possibility Sanders is there at 21. And if he's there, then I think there's a good possibility they're going to take him. So, yeah, I really love the idea. But, yeah, I think it's got to go one of those two ways because outside of that, I'm not sure where they go. So, Mike, I don't know. What do you got? You got any ideas about Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh had a stellar offseason, and it just never seemed to me like they were gonna bring in Aaron Rodgers because Mike Tomlin seems like a pretty reputable coach who doesn't deal and tolerate a lot of BS. So it didn't make sense for me for the Steelers to entertain the Aaron Rodgers conversation after he saw how it went down with the Jets. So they had to do it because they were running low at the position. So I really think they've got to target, if they make that trade for Kirk Cousins. What I will say, though, is for the Steelers, the past couple of years, they really haven't had much production out of the quarterback room. So if they've got to suck it up for a year with Mason Rudolph, and still go out there and wreck teams on the defensive side of the ball and let Najee Harris and Carter, who's the other running back for Pittsburgh?
Oh, no, Harris is gone.
Harris is gone.
Oh, that's right. He's with the Chargers.
Yeah,
that's right.
They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. They let him walk.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. I think this is where Shedeur would go if he's on the board, and I think he's going to be on the board. For whatever reason, if Shedeur Sanders is not on the board, I could really see Jalen Milroe getting drafted to the Steelers. The Steelers are going to try to replicate what Lamar Jackson is, even though you can't replicate his game. He's a freak. The Jets and the Giants both should have traded for him when there was contract discussions with him, and they couldn't agree to a number. I wish the Jets would have did that. Eric, you probably wish the Giants could have done that. But I think this is where, if Jalen Milroe is going to go in the first round, bearing a trade up like late in the first round, this is where you would see him go. 21
this is where I hope, and I know you got to jump, but this is where when we're getting towards the second round, I mean, we're not going to go through all the rounds today, but I was actually hoping that Milroe fell to the second round of the Giants because they draft early in the second round. That could get him in the second. That's what I was hoping for, but the more and more its talk goes on, it sounds like Milroe may go end of the first to somebody who trades back in. I actually think that if Sanders is there and Milroe's there, that the Steelers are going Sanders. I don't think they're going to go Milroe. If Milroe fell to the second round of them, I think they would go Milroe. But I don't think they would take him early. They're a team that, to me, I don't feel like they reach very much for picks. And to me, I think that would be a little bit of a reach at 21. So that's why I would say that I think Sanders, if he's there, but I don't think Milroe. But again, maybe that's just my giant heart hoping that maybe he falls there because I'm a Bama boy and a Giants guy, so kind of marries the two.
For you.
As I'm surrounded by all sorts of Giants and Alabama memorabilia. But either way, I think that's kind of the most interesting. The only one I want to just hit you with quick, Mike, because they were a surprise team last year. They were the surprise team, made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. Washington drafted really late at 29. Went out, trade for Deebo Samuels. They got some offensive pieces. Do you think? Because I'm leaning defense here. What do you think Washington does? Because they obviously want to build on what they did last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to follow the same plot line as what the Bears are trying to do. They're going to try to put as many weapons, and they're going to try to protect their quarterback as much as possible. So if I had to guess and I had to guess what the Commanders were going to do, I think I would take Omari and Hampton to the Commanders and pick 29.
Okay.
Get them a 3-down running back. He's not very elusive, but he's a powerful running back. He's a 3-down back. The Commanders have always had problems with their running back room. If you can get somebody, and like I don't love drafting Ashton Genty at pick 6, even though that's what the Raiders might do. But at pick 29, if you can take running back 2, I think that would be a steal for them, because that's where they lack on offense, in my opinion.
All right, so to me, I would go defensive side of the ball because I think they've actually got enough on the offensive side of the ball, but that's just me. I think they'd be looking more linebacker, more corner, or edge rusher, but that, I don't know. Dave, you got an opinion on what you think the Commanders might do?
I lean more on defense, just simply due to the fact that Dan Quinn's their head coach. That there's no other way for me to put it. Dan Quinn being their head coach, I think they lean heavy defense because Dan Quinn believes that Cliff Kingsbury with Jaden Daniels can make a lot of, okay players look really good. And he wants as many toys to play with on the defensive side of the ball. So I lean more defense, just mainly due to the factor of Dan Quinn being their head coach.
Hey, fair enough.
I gotta be honest.
Guys.
I don't have too much more I really wanted to bring up anyway. So, I mean, really, I got one more question for you guys tonight before we get out of here and go eat and have some dinner and whatnot. Anybody think who's the team most likely to make a trade? If there's going to be a trade in the first round, who's trading back in or who's trading up? That's the only other question.
I was actually thinking it was Dallas. I was kind of shocked we didn't touch on Dallas.
You kind of touched on it a little bit before. Yeah. I didn't know how deep you want to get in. So tell me, what are you thinking?
The main reason I think it is because Dallas is a team that believes they are one piece, maybe 2 pieces away. So if there's a guy in the top, I'd say 7 to 11 that they think it can make that big of a difference. Like a lot of people are pushing them to take wide receiver number 2. Find that guy to open things up a little bit for CeeDee Lamb, which I'm all good for. I don't want to take a running back in the first round. Everything I've read said this.
So would you be in to trade up for McMillan?
Like going after, I don't want them trading up for any of these wide receivers. But if they went and traded up for the defensive tackle out of Michigan, I'd be okay with that based off of how many spots they moved, right? I think there's several wide receivers that are going to fall, that maybe they stay at 12 and take, a defensive player. Like I like the linebacker out of Georgia for them, which is one of the reasons why I said he might go to San Francisco, because I could see Dallas and San Francisco being interested in him. The defensive tackle, I just don't see falling back to them. I could see them going after a pass rusher after losing DeMarcus Lawrence. So I think Dallas is trying to stack, kind of like Fife touched on, and we've mentioned a couple times already on today's show. There's a lot of second and third day talent. So I think Dallas is okay with the idea of moving back and stacking second and third day picks to try and nail on those to build depth, because their biggest issue last year was depth. They got injuries at their top key positions, and they had nobody to step in that could really make plays for them. I think they're looking for depth, so I think they're most likely to trade back. But I do think that if Walker out of Georgia is there, Graham out of Michigan is there, I would not be surprised if they were willing to go up a couple spots to get one of those guys. And if the wide receivers are falling, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to trade back to the middle or late first round and just see which one of those wide receivers falls to them, because I think they like a couple of those guys to be a solid number 2.
And you think they go wide receiver over an offensive lineman? And I only say that because last year and the last few years, that Dallas was pretty good where they were winning 10, 12 games a year. It was built on that offensive line. And I'm wondering, do they get back to that? Because there was a stretch where they drafted, 4 or 5 years in a row of offensive line?
3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
With Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith, who, shout out to Tyron Smith, announced his retirement. Zach Martin. Those 3 guys were drafted in a 4-year time period. And
it anchored their line.
They drafted Tyler Gutton last year in the first round, and they still think he's their starting left tackle. They've got Tyler Smith at left guard, who they just picked up his 5th-year option, and in 4 years has gone to the Pro Bowl twice and got selected to the second team All-Pro 1 year. They got Cooper Beebe, who they drafted in the 3rd or 4th round last year as their starting center. They got Brock Hoffman, who, when he actually came in late in the year after Martin went down, it was the first time Dallas was able to run the ball all year long. The guy just plays nasty, and you need that, especially in an interior offensive lineman. So I think they're really hoping he turns into their starter. And their right tackle's is one of the most inconsistent players on that entire team. But when he plays well, he plays well. So if they're going to take an offensive lineman, they're probably going to take one in the second or third round to play more like a swing tackle, be their backup swing guy. But I think the order that they go, from everything I've seen from their beat writers, it's wide receiver in the first round, running back in the second round, and then anything can happen after that. But it seems like a lot of their beat writers believe it's wide receiver, running back. If they stay put with where they're at, they're going to take one of the wide receivers at 12 and then take one of the running backs in the second round. So we'll see. But I think Dallas is probably one of the most likely teams to trade back in the draft.
Okay.
Not front, but I think they'll trade back if they do trade.
Mike, to you, and then I'll let you run. I know you got to get out of here.
So I think there's going to be 2 trades. The first trade that I think is going to happen is there's been the past couple days a lot of smoke flying around. The Jaguars taking Ashton Jeanty. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I have
it's been
seen
heating
that.
up, and it's been heating up quick. So if there's going to be a trade up in the draft, I think if the Bears think that Ashton Jeanty is that guy for their offense to really take them to the next level, I think you'll see a trade up on draft night to the 4 spot. The Patriots trade back to the 10 spot, pick up an extra third this year and a second and a fourth next year. A crazy trade package to try to trade up to take their guy in the running back position. The next trade I think is going to happen is, let's say there is a Jackson Dart. Let's say there is a Jalen Milroe that's sitting around the 27, 28 spot. I could see the Browns and or the Giants trading back into the first round just so they can lock those quarterbacks up for the 5th-year option. Who it's going to be, not really sure right now, but I could see the Giants having 2 first-round picks this year because they want to trade up with the Commanders, with the Bills, with the Chiefs to lock up their quarterback in the future.
I'm going to agree with you, Mike, and I'm going to agree in a way with Dave. I think if there is a team most likely to move back, it's going to be Dallas. But I think if there's a team most likely to move up, I think it's the Giants, because all the smoke I'm hearing is that they want either Carter or Hunter, with the 3, and then come back into the first round. At first, you were hearing a lot about Jackson Dart. In the last month or so, it's been all Jalen Milroe. I love that idea. So I'm going to say that that's the most likely to trade back in or to trade up is the Giants, to trade out of the second round, get back into the first, some kind of package to make that happen. And I think that Dave is spot on. If there's a team to move back, it's probably the Cowboys. Or to be honest, it could be San Fran if they want to move back and stack picks too. But I really like the Dallas idea. So Mike,
I don't think San Fran needs to stack picks because they got a boatload of picks this year in the 4th, 5th, and 6th round, and they got a boatload of picks next year. So if they're going to trade back, I think it's going to be, for players, not so much for draft picks, but, we'll see. The 49ers are really in a very interesting spot with what they want to do. I mean, do you want to pay Brock Purdy because he took you to the Super Bowl? Or do you say, we actually don't think he's really the bright spot of the future and we have other assets that are more important to fill? It's going to be really exciting to see what the 49ers decide to do.
I think they're going to decide to sign Purdy. I really do. I think that that's going to be the move they make. I just hope that they don't do something stupid and sign him for new record-breaking money. Because to me, that's just dumb.
That's what's happening. The ceiling keeps on increasing with all of these new quarterback deals. I mean, you remember what it was last year? The Trevor Lawrence deal signed like a 5-year,
I think we're hitting
$50 million deal.
I think the bubble's about to burst because you have too many guys like that. You can't keep paying Trevor Lawrence's and some of these guys monster deals of $50 and $60 million a year and think you're going to keep your franchise afloat when they're taking up a quarter or more of your entire roster, of the money allotted. Like, you can't do it. It's still a salary cap sport. So, I mean, I don't know. To me, it would be absolutely insane if they signed him for big money. But I think that he could, but I just think in the next couple of years, you're going to see that bubble burst and you're going to see some contracts that are a little bit more in the $40 to $50 million range instead of that $60 million range.
I mean, if I had to predict a
win.
contract for, if I had to predict a contract for Bryce Purdy, I think it'd be more along the lines of what Baker Mayfield signed in Tampa, or what Sam Darnold just signed in Seattle. 3-year, $100 million deal, 3-year, $120 million deal, something along
Purdy and
that
his agent
AAV.
are pushing for the max, so trust me. I mean, he made nothing as a rookie because his rookie deal really, they made out well on that deal, for sure.
Sure did.
So, well, Mike, I appreciate you joining us tonight. I appreciate you giving us your perspective on the Jets and the rest of the NFL draft here. Thank you very much for joining us. I don't know if you got any social media or anything else you want to shout out, but I just want to say thanks for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. Anytime I get to talk about football and New York sports, I'm all about it.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, look forward to seeing you soon. We got Joe's wedding coming up, so looking forward to that. And yeah, man, love you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for joining, Mike.
Love you too, man. Hey, we'll be at the bar. We'll be getting those whiskey on the rocks all night.
You know how we do it. All right. Have a good one.
All righty, guys. Take care.
All right, so that was
snafu. All of a sudden, we got like a little remix here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Reset the Bluetooth, and we're good.
There you go.
But yeah, no. So don't have much more for you. I don't know if there's any other teams that we didn't talk about that stuck out to you. I want to shout out Marissa in the chat, anybody, Ryan, who are both Philly fans, because we didn't talk a ton of Philly. But what do you think they do at 32? Because offensively, they're pretty set. It's got to be defensive side of the ball, offensive line.
I think it's definitely defensive side of the ball. I just don't see how they go a different way with some of the losses they went through this offseason. I think they're going to take the best, but when you're at that point, right, and you just take the best player available. So whoever they have as the top ranked player on their board, that's who they're going to take, because it's the 32nd pick. It's an early second round pick. So you find a guy that you believe can be a starter. You hope he turns into a starter, but if he doesn't, you're like, well, we took that pick after we won a Super Bowl. We'll survive. Yeah.
I could see them probably going with like Mikael Williams out of Georgia if he falls to him, edge rusher, even an inside linebacker like or inside interior defensive lineman like Tyler Booker at Alabama, something on the defensive side of the ball. Because again, why not just work on the trenches? Like you're winning,
keep winning it there.
Keep winning it there, and that it's been a winning formula for them. So their D line's been one of the best in the league. Why not keep adding to it? Again, it's kind of like the Giants. If you get a guy like Carter, you're getting to add to that defensive line. So I think that's a really good spot for one of those guys if they can get him. But yeah, other than that, there's really no other teams, because I think that the Ravens are pretty predictable. They're going to draft well. That the Lions have been doing well as well. The Chiefs, they just turn anything into gold. The Bills, the Bills are an interesting team actually, because they could be a team that could go running back real late. But again, they have a young running back, don't they? Didn't they just draft somebody last year? So no, that's not going to work. They drafted Keon Coleman last year, and they got. I don't know if. Again, they're another team I think that could go defense actually, because I think they're pretty set offensively. Yeah, I don't know. Any of these things jumping out to you? Anything in the chat you want to shout out? But
I do want to shout out Fife. He said you need more in the background than just some dumb Yankees poster. And then he said, "Sorry, Louie."
Yeah. He's our unofficial fourth co-host. Hey, by the way, shut that door real quick. You can see another picture of Louie.
Oh my god. Well, Fife won't mind that picture.
Yeah, he's in the Giant jersey there. So, yeah, my goal is to have him in all of the major sports. So he'll be around the room in all the major sports. What I might add to the wall here that you might be able to see soon, Fife, is I did pick up recently a signed Giant Saquon jersey. So that'll be up on the wall somewhere eventually. But yeah. Shout out to the rest of the teams we didn't mention, though, like the Chargers. To be honest, Not really sure what they're going to do. I haven't followed them enough to know.
I think the most important thing to say right now is that I hope when we come back here next week, we are both happy with what our teams did.
Yes.
And when it's all said and done, screw every other team in the league.
Right?
I mean, I want to win.
I hope the rest of them get it wrong, right?
Get it wrong, and we get it right. You know what I mean? Like, let's be serious here. So, and then we're pulling for the Devils. Devils are down 2-1, 14 minutes left in the game.
Shout out to the Devils.
So,
we got to get Fife on to talk some hockey with us.
I was told that you can't root for them, though.
I'm not in any Devils gear today. I'm not. And again, I root for them, even though you don't like me rooting for them, especially with no Rangers in the playoffs. I have to root Devils because, again, it's just they're the home team. I don't hate them. I know you want me to hate them, but I can't hate them. I just don't have that hate in my heart, my friend. So I will not dress in the gear for you on game day. I'll do you that favor, but I can't help but still pull for them. But I know you talked about earlier in the year after Hughes went down anyway that, you know, you really didn't think that this was going to be their year. So, listen, let's just hope they make some kind of magical run.
That hurt a lot.
But if not, you know, let's enjoy them all we can, though. So, let's root them in. Down, 2-1, you said, with 14 to go?
Now 10:47 left in the third.
All right. So, 10 minutes to go, only down 1. It's doable. Let's make it happen.
And they look way better than from what I did get to watch of the game that I saw while I was at the gym. They looked way, way better than what they looked like on Sunday. So that's good at least. But speaking of which, you know what's going to look good? Some food. So,
well, we're just about there, my friend. I think we covered everything we wanted to cover tonight. Again, I'm with you. Screw everybody else. Let's hope our teams draft well. This is year 3 now of Dable and Shane drafting. So I'm interested to see what they do because they both could be out the door pretty soon if things don't turn around. So we're pulling for Fife, Carter in the first, and then maybe trade back into the first if you have to, or early second, get Milrow. That's the game plan. Let's do it, Giant fans. So who is the guy you're hoping for? You haven't given me a name with Dallas. If you could name one guy, any of the guys on the list there, who do you want down? What hill are you dying on for Dallas? And we'll end it there.
The guy I want or the guy I think they get at 12? What are you looking for? Because the guy I want is not going to fall to 12.
Well, I mean, who is it? Ward or something?
The D tackle from Michigan. That's who I want.
Tackle from Michigan.
He's ranked like the number 4 or 5 prospect.
Let's see who he is.
Mason Graham. There you go. Yeah.
So you want Mason Graham?
That's the guy I want. He's not going to fall to them.
So if he doesn't fall, who's?
I think they're most to me. I think most likely Jalen Walker from Georgia or the wide receiver
McMillan.
No, I think McMillan
the other one
goes. Where is he? Out of Ohio, was it Ohio State?
Ohio State's was
or Texas. I
think it was Texas.
Golden, yeah, Matthew Golden. Those are the 2 names that seem to be trending from everything that I watch. So I would say one of those 2 guys I would walk away pretty happy as well. But my dream scenario is somehow that defensive lineman from Michigan falls to them, which is not going to happen.
And I think what you really want is someone to walk into Jerry Jones's draft room and just say,
"Stop it. Get some help."
I think that's what you really want.
That'd be a lot nicer than what I would say. So we'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our draft preview here, round 1. I might try to, I don't know what you're doing, maybe Thursday or Friday, maybe give you a call or something. But
Thursday, I'm going out to dinner with a friend of mine who's up here from North Carolina, and Friday, I will be at the Devils game.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Okay, me, Amanda.
No, we won't be talking. But I may try to do something where I do like a draft roundup. But again, we're going to do that next week anyway, so screw it. I'll probably wait till next week. But either way, thank you everybody out there for listening. If you've hung with us this long, like, subscribe, follow, share. Please do all those things for us. It means the world. Still trying to hit 100 subscribers. I think we're at 89 on Facebook. Once we hit 100, I can start streaming there as well.
So close.
So close. Let's get us there. And yeah, so until then, you can follow Louie at Louie Aussie Dude. You can follow Joey, who's not here with us, but I'm going to shout him out anyway at Joey Doth 47 on Instagram. Dave, where can they find you?
D Hastings 23 on Instagram, David Hastings 23 on Twitter, now known as X.
You can find me at The Living Legend, or you can find all of us at Die on This Hill on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our draft preview. And yeah, until next time, don't be afraid to have an opinion, especially on drafts and what your team's going to do with them. And Die on This Hill with us.
Don't be afraid. It's a
Boom.
good place to go.
Gotta get some music. Go Devils.